Welcome everybody to the channel where we never turn off the console. Today we are paying a visit to Raccoon City and to Resident Evil 3 Remake. This is the latest release from Capcom, and to say the least, it has been controversial amongst the community. So my idea is to make an honest review and point out the positives, the negatives, so you guys can decide if this game is worth it for you or not. So if you are new around here, don't forget, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload that I do to YouTube, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed the content, comment down below your thoughts about this game, and without more delays, let's get into it. This game came out on April 3rd, and during that time I have played through the main story 2 times. And with this playtime, I think I'm in a good spot to give you guys my impressions about the game. I have a lot of positive things to point out, but there are a few negatives that I think you guys should know about. So, to start things off, let me give you an overview of what is happening in the story. Remember, the time frame is the same from Resident Evil 2, so the events that happen to Leon and Claire are taking place at the same time of what is happening to our 2 protagonists. At the beginning of the game, we encounter a Raccoon City in complete chaos due to the fact that the virus created by Umbrella Corp, called T-Virus, has spread and infected a lot of people, turning them into zombies. And in the middle of this mess, we have Jill Valentine, a STARS agent that is being pursued by an indestructible monster by the name of Nemesis. Yeah, that pretty boy right there. With only one thing in mind: kill all STARS agents. But Jill is not alone in this nightmare. She has the help of Carlos Oliveira, member of Umbrella's UBCS team, a good guy working for the bad guys. Carlos and some team members are trying to find and save as many non-infected people as they can, gathering them in the substation where they have a train ready to leave Raccoon City. The 2 of them meet when Carlos helps Jill escape Nemesis, and from that point on, they start to help each other and try to get out of the city. So now, let's start with what I have enjoyed the most in Resident Evil 3 Remake. One of the most positive things about this game, and the easiest to point out in my opinion, are the excellent graphics. The detail in Raccoon City is truly amazing, a city in shambles with an horrifying scenario installed everywhere. The effects on flames around the streets are just breathtaking, the buildings getting destroyed are extremely detailed and well designed, and you have zombies everywhere you look, with only one thing in mind: trying to bite your ass off. It looks like you are playing a terrifying interactive movie. And we need to talk about the new visuals on Nemesis. So imposing! It gives you the idea that he is a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, but only the idea, and I will get to that later. The detail in this monster compared to the original game is just ridiculous. He is terrifying on this game. I still have nightmares with this dude chasing me around. And every evolution stage of this beast is more impressive and disgusting than the previous one. In terms of monsters that you encounter along the way, we have some familiar faces from Resi 2. Like the zombies, of course, the dogs, yeah, those damn dogs, and the lickers, that in my opinion are the most disgusting of them all. Just look at that head. He has his brain exposed. Ugh. But we also have new creatures, and every single one of them is more frightening than the other. We have the hunters with 2 different types. One super fast that can cut your throat and insta-kill you. And the second one is slow, yeah, but with a giant mouth that can eat you for lunch. Then we have the registered sex offender after getting infected with the T-Virus, called the Paleheads. Come on man, just cover yourself! But we also have new monsters that like to show affection towards the main protagonist. Like this guy, a nice young fella that just wanted a little goodbye kiss after a night well spent. Or these spiders. These ones, I don't know what the f they are doing. But hey, all of them are great! The boss fights are spectacular. All encounters that you have with Nemesis are thrilling, visually gorgeous, and they are so fast-paced that you don't have time to strategize and to think in the most efficient way to get rid of him. You just start shooting at that bastard to make him go away. But once you collect yourself, you start to see what you have to do to defeat him. But not everything is gore and carnage. There are still places for a cute touch here and there. Look at this teddy bear that I found at the hospital. Isn't that cute?
I'm going to eat you alive and spit your bones.
That wasn't supposed to happen. The gameplay feels amazing, and if you have played Resident Evil 2 Remake, you will be familiarized with the controls and the gameplay, but this is a much more action-oriented game. It never takes you out of that adrenaline and intensity tracks. You still have moments where you are going to panic and to get scared. There are a lot of jump scares that will make you poo your pants, but I don't think you will get the same level of fear that you got from Resi 2. But well, if there are more zombies to shoot, I'm all up for it. So the shooting is great. You might miss some shots because of the way the zombies walk. It looks like Uncle Arthur coming out of the bar next door, but you will get used to it. Crafting the materials that you pick up along the way is a really cool mechanic that lets you do some adjustments to your playstyle. You can choose which type of ammo is going to be more useful for that specific situation, or you can manage your inventory space. Sometimes you will be forced to craft some ammo that is not your preference at that point, just to have another open slot on your inventory to pick up something that you need. But the biggest innovation in this game in terms of gameplay is the new cool dodge mechanic that is the perfect addition to balance off the increase of action game style. It is really helpful when you are surrounded by zombies and in difficult situations. If you time it right, you will go under the arms of a zombie like a badass and use the boost that you get that helps you readjust your position. The best recommendation that I can give you if you are interested in playing this game is play it with headphones. The music, the sound effects, the atmosphere, everything becomes better if you use headphones. You will feel really immersed in the game, making everything 10 times more intense and terrifying. And at last, but not least, I have to talk about the two main characters in the game. Jill being a badass super cop, and Carlos with a more supportive role. I really like them. And all this affection for the characters comes from the amazing cutscenes, super well directed, and it is really cool to see the development of the relationship between Jill and Carlos in the middle of such a chaotic environment. My favorite cutscene is when Jill on Carlos after his failing attempt at the pickup line. Just enjoy.
It's alright, you're going ahead. I'm not gonna die on you, leave you in a cold, cruel, Carlosless world.
Okay.
But now it's time to talk about the negatives of this game, and yeah, there's a lot to talk about here as well. I'm going to start things off by taking this out of the way, because it's the only thing in terms of graphics that disappointed me. The dismembering of the zombies was turned down from the previous remake. In Resident Evil 2, the dismembering of the zombies was much more detailed and gore and much more eye-catching than in this game. So, remember when I told you that Nemesis was a force to be reckoned with? Well, the truth is, Nemesis doesn't impose the same level of threat that Mr. X did in Resident Evil 2. He appears in predetermined spots, and that is something that takes away that constant fear that you have with Mr. X. You would start to pee yourself every time you heard those footsteps approaching. With Nemesis, once you go for multiple playthroughs, the surprise effect will go away.
Ah!
Run! Rachel! Run! Run! Yeah, like I wasn't expecting that. But the biggest problem with this game, it must be the length. It only takes you between 5 to 7 hours to finish the main story. There are locations from the original game that were totally cut out, the most noticeable of them being the clock tower, an iconic location. Another thing that doesn't exist anymore are branching paths, that in the original were a pretty good reason to replay the game multiple times. And why Capcom? Why the need to cut these parts, if the original PS1 game was already so short? This type of decision didn't help in terms of length and replayability of the game. It feels unfulfilling. The lack of puzzles is another pretty big issue for me, because the few ones that it has are really simple to complete. It only takes you some tries to get it right, never leaving you scratching your head like it happened in Resident Evil 2. This makes the game feel unchallenging in this department. And there is almost no backtracking on this game. While in Resident Evil 2, this was a big presence. You needed to know almost every corner of the RPD police station. And that contrasts with Resident Evil 3, where you have a much more linear path. The game almost forces you to go in that direction. And let me leave this question out there. Since we have two different characters, why didn't Capcom make two separate campaigns? That would make much more sense, and you would have a purpose to replay the game, making your experience with it feel longer, like Resident Evil 2 did in a really good way, with multiple playthroughs with two different characters. And my last complaint with this game, it must be the price tag. Don't get me wrong, this is a gorgeous game, and I loved every minute that I spent with it throughout my two playthroughs. But come on, $60 for a game that you can finish in 6 hours without rushing? It's just too much. If you want to play this game, I recommend you wait for a sale to buy it. I have to say that I enjoyed every second that I spent with this game. It looks great, it plays great, and it sounds great. But it's just too damn short. I would be perfectly fine with it if the main story was 10 hours long. But with everything cut out of from the original, the lack of puzzles, and the lack of reason to replay the game, it just leaves me feeling disappointed and wanting more. So, if you are a fan of this type of games, you are going to have a blast while it lasts. But I cannot justify a full price tag on a game that will only take you 6 hours to beat and you don't have any motivation to replay it, except for turning up the difficulty. So with all of this being said, I give to Resident Evil 3 Remake my ranking of 7 out of 10.